All right, it looks like we have a great group with us today, so we'll get started. A very warm welcome to today's webinar on unlocking workflow efficiency. Whether you're in the early stages of rolling out Figured at your practice, or you're one of the more seasoned users looking to get a little bit more out of the platform, this webinar has been designed for you both. Really, our goal here is to uncover tangible efficiency gains. A bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A below, and we'll try to answer those during the session or at the end. And if we don't get to them, we will get those answers into our email with our recording out to you later this week. My name's Scott Campbell, and I'm one of the partner success managers here at Figured, looking after firms across the North Island. I have over a decade experience working with agri firms across the country. I'll be taking you through the compliance demo in Figured today, and I'm joined by my colleague Patty here, who will be taking us through the planning and advisory side of things. Patty, do you want to say a quick hello, mate?
Yeah, thanks, Scotty. Yeah, great to get in front of everyone here. My name's Patty. I'm a relatively new face to the NZ team. I've recently moved back to the NZ team from the Figured UK team. Spent about 5 years over there. So great to be back in NZ and working with some Kiwi firms again. And yeah, hope to be working with some more of you moving forward following today.
Awesome, thanks, Patty. I'd like to start with a universal truth that every agri firm in New Zealand knows, and that's everyone wants an efficient, accurate trading statement. And it isn't just a compliance task. We know that it's the foundation of your agri services, and getting this right is non-negotiable for all of you. As we go through today's webinar, though, I want us to think of our current processes. Is it as efficient as it could be, or is it holding us back from doing a little bit more? I've seen many firms still treating their tech stack as a collection of separate tools that are unintegrated, rather than a single integrated engine. They're still getting the job done, though, but they're still leaving an incredible amount of efficiency and value on the table. Over my 10 years here working with top performing firms, they understand this, and they're not just chipping away at these inefficiencies. They're systematically eliminating dozens of manual touch points. This isn't saving them minutes here and there. This is actually allowing them to reclaim hundreds of hours across their team's capacity annually. That time saved can be put back into other areas of the business. But as we go through today's workflows, a few things that come to mind as I've been working with partners around this space is that, updating livestock work papers can be quite tedious and manual, from updating IRD values, getting sales from one system and purchases into spreadsheets, whether you're posting and entering journals one at a time for livestock or milk accrual journals. I know that's stuff that adds up over every client that you have. And probably lastly, another thing that comes up is the kgs of milk solids. People are going in and building out their milk recs as well, and having to key these in. So just how much time is lost when we're doing this? And could we eventually virtually eliminate all that time? So these are the questions that we're going to try and answer in today's webinar, and I'll hand you back over to Patty to talk to this a little bit more.
Cheers, Scotty. Yeah, thanks for everyone for attending today, and it's great to see great turnout and the interest in unlocking some of this workflow efficiency, and that's what Scotty and I are here today to try and kick that off. This is intended to be a little bit of a back to basics sort of webinar where we're looking at ensuring everyone has kind of access and is across what those best practice workflows are, and with initial kind of primary focus on the compliance workflow. So at a high level, these are kind of the core functions that we see of an accounting firm at a high level. And so it's gathering that data, the actual workflows of processing that data, and then the reporting insights and outputs we get from that. And that's kind of where Figured is, designing product solutions to help get efficiency in those three core areas. So streamlining the data collection, simplifying and making those workflows more efficient, and then obviously surfacing actionable insights and useful insights and reporting out of that. So that's kind of the three areas that we're at a high level targeting. Now, Figured was started over 10 years ago in Fielding, my hometown. We've come a long way since then, and we're really proud to be bringing efficiency and value to accountants and farms for over a decade. And through our efforts to build a product that supports the efficiency across the whole farming team, so accountants, advisors, bankers, and of course farmers, we've achieved a decent scale across the country, as you can see here. And what's reinforcing that is our connected platform that we've built here. So this is a slide representing the connected platform for Agri that we've built. And at the heart of that is the farming team. So in the middle there, you've got the farmer, the advisors, the bankers, and through the product and at the center there, the farming team and those integration partners that we've partnered with, we're enabling our partners to deliver and provide a range of services to their clients. So right from compliance through to more value-add services and insights. And while we want our accounting partners to be delivering, those more high value, value-add services to clients, it is really important that we nail the efficient compliance foundation to enable those higher value services. That is a really key part. So that top left quadrant there is the farm reporter. That's where we're kind of focusing to start with today. Underpinning that platform, as we highlighted in the last slide, is our integrations. So, we're looking at bringing efficiency to that compliance workflow through data integrations with key partners. And we have this ethos of integrating and bringing data into Figured where it makes sense to do so and where it's possible. So many of these integrations that we have built on the left-hand side there will change the workflow, may replace the part of the workflow, augment that workflow. But the whole idea of that is through Figured, we're enabling in a more efficient way those outcomes that you see on the right-hand side there. So more streamlined data collection, efficient workflows around tax and compliance, and then leveraging that into higher value stuff like your budgeting and forecasting, benchmarking, financial services, those more higher value items. And a key point to make on this is that these integrations come just out of the box with our core products, Farm Reporter, Farm Manager. So they're available and they're really kind of easy to start stepping into and folding into the workflows that help you enable those outcomes on the right-hand side there. This is a really key slide because this is what it comes down to in practice. These are some of the best practice timings that you're able to achieve per client when the workflows are optimized. There are some pretty punchy time savings on there, but we've since checked these numbers with some of our key partners, and many of them agree that they're likely saving over 400 kind of cumulative hours on the compliance process, depending on obviously what process you're coming from. But there are some material time savings to be gained. Close to an hour on livestock reconciling per client, particularly where they've got multiple trackers and multiple enterprises there. There's some real time savings to be had in that respect. 15 minutes on the actual livestock valuations. That can actually potentially be a lot more depending on the setup there and how optimized it is. But there are some real savings in that respect. And 30 minutes on the milk reconciling side of things and the accrual alignment journals. I think anyone using the tools there will know there's some real time savings to be made there. And Scotty will be talking to this a little bit more in the product. And obviously, while there are differences across clients, we just want to highlight here that there are some real material gains to be made when you invest in making that workflow more efficient. So I am going to hand across to Scotty now to pick up his part.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Paddy. Just before we jump into the demo, a compliance demo today in Farm Reporter, just wanted to highlight the overall process, and this just frames it up really well. In Xero, you have your bank feeds, and a lot of value that we get from Xero is users doing best practice there, and I'll touch on that a little bit more, but really around the sales and purchases being coded a certain way and you're getting the data in detail in there. That all flows through to Figured, and that, going back to Paddy's last slide, using an import function, that integration can save us a ton of time across our client base in terms of populating our stock rec. Going into the Figured side of things, those next three boxes is the three-step process that we take with milk and livestock. And a few key things that I want to call out there and for you guys to think about as you hop off this webinar is, all the things that will eliminate that manual data entry, from the integrations that we have with the likes of AFCO and Silverfin Farms for livestock, and then for milk, whether that's feeds that you have with Fonterra, Miraka, Sinlay, and Open Country. So that can eliminate all the data entry of milk production. So that's step one. Step two is valuations and milk journaling. So we got you covered when it comes to valuations, and I think a lot of the people that have been using Figured are doing this well, but we'll go over that in a little bit more detail. But it's the milk journaling piece, which even this year when I've been out on the road, just reintroducing it to people that haven't been using this across their team and their clients. I know a lot of people are journaling these in manually one by one at the end of the year. We can streamline that process a lot more, and our wizard is just a four-click process to getting all that done. And the tail end, the easiest bit, but the most rewarding in my opinion, is the reporting piece. We know we need to take those trading statements out of Figured into Xero, but then just sort of looking at the other value add reports that we can do off the back of that with little or no extra work. So I'll share my screen now. Patty, if you can.
Yeah, I'll give you the reins, Scotty.
Cheers, mate. Awesome. So in my demo here, I'm going to start by just orientating ourselves on the screen. We have our global date select up the top and the nav bar on the left-hand side. But really, job number one is getting your stock rec done up. And you guys will be used to getting your tally sheets from your clients. That's where in step one, under operations trackers, we will be punching in your target closings. We have this variation column here, which basically shows us the variation between our actual closing and the tally sheet numbers that we've put in. And what we want to do is quickly and efficiently getting all those sales and purchases blocked out. And this is where, referring back to my previous slide, if you guys are getting your team or your clients to enter this into Xero, you can utilize this import function. And I got one transaction here, but I work with clients day in, day out, and there is, hundreds of transactions in some cases. Going through and having to, work all that out and get that into your stock rec is a breeze now, because what we can do here is import the quantities from Xero. We can import the description. So long as that's being entered by your team or the client, all of that comes through, and you can hit save all, and that'll update your stock rec. So if you block out your sales and purchases, we also have tools to help you finish your stock rec, like under tools at the top here, being able to auto age. To round out step one, you'll put in your births, deaths, and reconciling transactions, and then you'll move on to step two. Step two sits under accounting, and we'll go into valuations. So I've already opened that up over here, and I will collapse my nav bar if you want a little bit more real estate. So in step two for livestock, we have the valuations window with all the schemes that we support. A lot of people are either using various Excel work papers that are out there or building their own. And with both of those things, you're taking information manually and updating it. Whereas once Figured has these values from the IRD, we will populate all of these for all your clients. You can see the numbers in the summary up the top here are coming through from step one from our stock rec, and we're allocating this out. So a little bit of a sense check here as to how much we have left. You can see that Figured supports herd scheme, NSC, and market value. And in terms of the job to be done here, my recommendation, my little tip, is clicking on update allocation and using herd scheme first. So working your way left to right. So in the herd scheme one here, we can see that our closing quantities from last year showing, and that's because, as you guys are aware, there's business rules around maintaining that. So I can go here and allocate out 5, because that's what I need to do for our 2 steers. In situations where, through transfers between related entities or deaths, you might be able to go under what you had last year, or that's all you have on hand. You can ignore those. So it's not hard and fast rules. It's just business rules that we've built in there to sort of let you know. So I'll hit save and go back, locking in my herd scheme numbers, and I want to allocate the rest of mine to NSC now. I'll click on allocate stock, and to simply allocate any remaining stock, I will hit allocate all unallocated stock up in the top right hand corner here. So that's put those numbers in there for me. If you guys are wondering how we're calculating things, you can simply click on view calculation and see that we're bringing in IRD values. For some of the more mature breeding stock, you can see that we're using last year's numbers as well as IRD values to get mature breeding and non-breeding right for you guys. And you can hit save and go back if you're happy with everything you see in there. A couple of other little call outs just based off some work that I've been doing with larger farming groups. We do have under settings the ability to consolidate all your NSC calculations. So we can do consolidated NSC calculations for multi-farms, which I think is really important. And then market value, just the last one here. I'm not going to use this, but just want to call out when you can use it. So if you have high price stock, I have a lot of clients that will put high price stock into market value. Or if there's any type of livestock that isn't covered by the IRD, you can punch that in here, like alpacas, for example. So now this is where our integrated system starts talking to Xero and giving Xero some information. So we can go and hit complete valuation up the top right. This will give us journals that we can post through to Xero to reverse out last year's on-hand values and post through the new ones. I'll click skip. And if you have any non-taxable valuation journals to post through, that will be brought up here as well. So I'll hit skip. You guys will be posting that through, and that will lock your valuation for the year that you're working in. You can view all your historical valuations and see what's complete, which is pretty handy. And that pretty much rounds out step 2. Step 3, going back to our nav bar now, is actually taking those reports. But probably what I want to get people to think about is, have you created saved views and report packs? Patty will touch on this a lot more when we go in and look at farm manager and planning. But I just wanted to take us into reports, into our trading statement. So this is the end product. What we can do here is hit on additional options on the top right of your report, and you can hide comparative data. So there's always additional options under any of our reports. When you hit run, it'll make those changes. And a good example here is where you have a client who's in their first year of trading. They don't need any comparative data. All you need to do then is see that your sales and everything is coming through from your trackers. All your valuations work that we just walked through is coming through from our valuations window. We've made a few little tweaks under additional options, and we will copy that to clipboard, and we'll head over into Xero. A lot of you are familiar with Xero's report packs here, and find the relevant section, and we'll paste that in. And the great thing here is that it'll actually match Xero's formatting. So that ends the livestock process for us today. A very similar 3-step process that I'll whip through here around milk. A lot of time savings on the planning side, but just focusing on the 3-step process for milk around getting your milk trading statement out. So my first tip in the milk tracker is going into settings and making sure that your milk feeds are set up. So those kgs and milk solids that we see here, they can be manually entered, or they could be dropping in on the 6th or 7th of each month for all your dairy clients. So I got a lot of partners asking us for that type of information. How many of our clients do we have these feeds set up for? Because that's really, the time savings coming into effect, as well as that import from Xero or our kill sheets in terms of livestock. Then we have your milk income that is being coded off into Xero and dropping into here. But my pro tip is for milk, cash code all your milk income. So regardless of what subscription they're on, business edition in particular, cash code it all, and then go into step 2 So just under accounting, again, these are accounting tools. The account journaling tool. So the account journaling tool is something that a lot of my partners that I work closely with are using year in, year out. And I got a few of them that are actually using this for other accounts, just because it turns everything into 4 clicks for whatever account you're working on. So this is a 4-step wizard. In the first step here, we're going to select the year that we're working in, and we're going to look for the account that we want to offset the cash transactions for and create those accrual journals for. So I'll select milk production current year. I'll hit next. This is already done, but you'll get the gist of it. This is all the stuff that's been cash coded by your clients or your team for milk income. We have a helper here that's already been used in my example that's offset those cash coded transactions. And this is what's going to form those accrual journals that we're going to push across. So this is my second sort of click or step. And the last one, second to last thing that you need to do here is select your contra. So some people have a specific accounts receivable account for milk. Some people have put it just to the regular accounts receivable account. Choose what contra you want, and then you'll have a post. So mine's already been posted, but you'll have a post to zero button here. That'll send all of those journals to zero. So if this resonates with you, if you've gone in recently and keyed all of that, maybe the next client that you guys go in to do this job for, this might be a tool that might help you save a heap of time entering that into your manual journals window in Xero. One more use case. I didn't intend to sort of talk about this one, but it is a good one. Anytime there's comparative data for a client that isn't in Xero, you don't have to import or find that anywhere. I have people that come into here and go back a step, and they manually punch in the accrual journals into each month and then just post that across. So to round out this 3-step process for milk, just like livestock, it's about copying it to a clipboard, jumping into your Xero report pack, finding the relevant section like I'm doing now, removing the instructions that are in there, and pasting your trading statement in. But that's all for me. I'm going to hand you back to Patty.
Cheers, Scotty. Yeah, that's really cool to see that compliance workflow. And obviously we couldn't cover all of the options today, but we've tried to pick out some of the really key valuable pieces there. A couple of things from me just on some areas from Scotty's demo that I think are really key to note is that import from Xero in the livestock trackers. That is the kind of best practice workflow option. Like I know and there's the options to be entering things into Figured and posting back to Xero, and that is if that fits your workflow, that's a viable option. But from an efficiency standpoint, doing your coding in Xero and using those kind of best practice tools in the accounting software, and then using that import function into the tracker is a really, really useful efficiency tool. And there's still a lot of kind of users out there that are still doing the old Figured into Xero way. So I think there's a lot of gains to be made in that respect. And just to reiterate Scotty's point on the milk side of things, those milk feeds add a lot of value, save a lot of time. So getting those set up really, really valuable, and some real gains to be made there. And obviously amongst a lot of the other things you've mentioned there. So I'll just bring my screen back up here. A second. Cool. All right. I'm going to circle back to this slide here because I think it's really key to recap some of those time savings based on some of the things that Scotty's shown there in the compliance process. And when you consider the time savings, not just in the workflow within Figured, say, the Figured in Xero, but where perhaps the client might be using a completely separate software. One thing we probably don't drive home enough these days is the value of that single ledger and having it all connected. I mean, there are some real time savings to be had in that, and a lot of you will kind of know that. But in having that single ledger, there are some real time savings to be had in removing that need to handball some of that data between different systems. So that factors into this. And then there's also the kind of more intangible efficiency gains. and having one standardized system to enter a lot of this data and do your workflows. And as you're doing that, you're building that data asset that can be leveraged into some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about sort of shortly. And as more of that compliance process and that workflow becomes more automated, as it's continuing to do, and there's more efficiency in that, not, that's across the board, not just in Figure and Xero. Like, as the compliance process becomes more automated, we believe you can be spending the time that you're saving there and that resource that you're saving on adding more value for clients through the likes of advisory services, which will, future-proof those services and future-proof your business. So from the rear view to the windscreen. So you might have heard this analogy before. It's one that we lean on a bit, but the rear view is really looking at what has already happened. So understanding where we are today. And that is, the compliance workflow. And that is, a really key foundation that has to be in place. The compliance process may not be traditionally as sexy as some of the other kind of value add items that we're going to talk about, but it is so crucial in being able to unlock them and be that foundation for those services. So, and a lot of the almost every top partner that we're working with has an efficient compliance engine that feeds the kind of wider machine. So it's a really key piece to focus on and put a bit of time into investing in that optimization of that. And then the windscreen is where we see the opportunity for our partners to be stepping into. So stepping into increasing client revenue by providing those more value add services. So you can see there up to 198% revenue increase per client when stepping into these services. And hopefully that kind of resonates and makes sense to a lot of you. But the key thing is here is, that in wanting to step into those services, we need to lay that foundation, which is that efficient compliance workflow, and do it efficiently is the key thing. I'm going to jump into a quick demo myself now, just focusing more on kind of the advisory and planning side of things. It's not going to be necessarily the whole workflow, but it is picking out sort of 3 key areas to focus on there. So I'll bring my screen up here for a little bit of a different demo. Can you see that all right, Scotty?
Yeah, I can, Matt.
Cool. So I've picked out kind of 3 areas to focus on here in my demo. So in this example, I know it says 2027 there, but we're looking at building a 2026 plan here, and it's completely blank at the moment. So we're coming in and we're starting fresh. So we've got a number of ways to do this efficiently, right? And some of you will already know this, but hopefully everyone's going to get some gems out of this little demo here. So to start off, we want to import from somewhere to start as a base. So the first option here is to import from actuals. So we'll head into our tools, hit import, and one of the options here is to import from last year's actuals, and that will import the previous year's actuals and throw that in as your forecast, your budget for the next year, which is really, really useful. So that's one option. The other option I want to touch on today is using a snapshot. And I think this is one that's probably a little underutilized. And this is really useful where, imagine in this example, we're sitting in April 2025, we've got our actuals reconciled to the end of March. We've got a mix in here of, part year reconciled actuals and part year forecast data. I want to build out a full year of forecast for my 2026 year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in and take a snapshot up here. So that's going to take a snapshot of exactly what we're seeing there, actuals to March 2025, and I'm going to label that as a snapshot that I'm using for my 2026 import there. So that's locking that data in so we can use it to import. So we'll jump into 2026 here, and we're going to go back to import. And here, one of the options is import from a snapshot. We can see under the 2025, the option I've just saved here. So we'll hit that and import in the same way we could have done with our actuals. That's going to build out that full year with a part year of our actuals and the remainder of that forecast there. So it's just a little bit different depending on what time of year you're obviously building this plan, but it's a useful one to kind of get your head around that snapshots. You can do multiple different snapshots to import from as well, and it's also a piece of the puzzle that enables kind of different versions of a plan, different versions of a budget. So those snapshots really key to get your head around. We can see here, this is imported my transactions to build out my 2026 base plan. And then from here, what we can do is start to adjust that. So we've got that in there. It's taken a minute to get and a couple of clicks to get that stuff in there. Now we want to come in and start changing some things. So I pulled out an example here for wages. We're bumping up the wages from 45,000 to 55,000 this year. Good pay increase. Things are tough. So what I'm going to do is I want to use the spread and curve tool here. So to do that, I'm going to click in the first month of the year here. That's going to bring up the tools at the bottom here. So we've got our forecasting tools at the bottom. Hopefully you've seen these before. We've obviously got copy tools here, which is really useful, and then obviously adjust by percentage for those incremental adjustments across the year. In this instance, I'm going to use the spread tool, and I'm going to enter my desired total amount for the year of 55K down the bottom here. Obviously, we've got some other options in terms of how we spread that, but for this example, I'm going to use the curve option. That curve is going to spread that on a distribution of how we've spent that in last year. So I'll hit curve here, and then I'm going to select which curve I'm going to use. So you can use the snapshots as well. So the snapshots you take, they'll have a potentially different curve to what your actuals might be. So you can set those and use those curves. In this example, I'm going to use my actuals from 2025. And I'm going to hit spread on that. And that has spread that 55K on the same curve as last year. Obviously, for more seasonal expenses and things, that production or that distribution curve is going to come in really handy when it's quick and easy to use, but it also adds value because you're spreading that amount, you're cash flowing it across the year. And given the kind of obviously the seasonal nature of Agri in particular, there's some real value in using that curve. So we really encourage you, if you haven't tested out that functionality yet, I would jump in there and try utilizing that, because that's a really key piece that can quickly help you adjust the plan and keep that structure of that cash flow. So that's a real key one. I'm going to jump back into the trackers here. So the importing that we've just done in there can be used in the trackers as well. So in the sheep tracker here, we'll head to our tools at import. Again, we've got the option to import from that snapshot as well. So if you've got different information in the snapshot versus the actuals, you can import different versions of what your stock rep might look like for your forecasts. So really key to, again, utilize those snapshots. In this example, I'm going to use last year's actuals to import, and we can see it's going to be importing last year's 2025 actuals as my 2026 forecast here. And that, again, has populated the grid. That's a base plan. It might not work out exactly the same as last year, but it gives you that base plan to then jump in and start adjusting some of these things. Jumping to the milk tracker, we have the same import functionality in here as well. Not exactly the same, but it does have the same functionality. So in the milk tracker, when you're building out a plan, obviously the key areas that we want to touch on are getting your milk production in there and getting the milk price in there. So that gives you your total income on a monthly basis. So to do that in an efficient way, we can import at the top here. So there's a little edit icon here next to the production. So if you hit that, it'll bring up this module. And there's a couple of different options here. Again, we can use last year's actual, so our actual milk production there. We can use that same snapshot. So you're taking different snapshots with different productions in there. You can import those into here as well. And again, that factors into the version control and different versions you can run of your plans. And you can also key in a figure there. So for this farm, I know that they're aiming to get 120,000 milk solids this year. So I can put that into here, and it will spread that production based on a curve from last year. So again, getting that production curve in there and helping with that cash flowing. The last tip from me is something Scotty alluded to earlier, which is the reporting and report pack side of things. I'm not going to go into it in a huge amount of detail, but I do think it's a really key area that is underutilized, and I'm really hoping you guys will this will resonate with you. So these report packs can be created at an organization level. So you can set it up once at the organization level and it will be available across your farms or segments of your farms. And they can also be created at farm level or even copied down to farm level. So you can customize it at that farm level. This report pack that I've created here is for farm manager files. So it's a tailored pack for farm manager files because they'll have their plans in there. But they can be built for any file type, so farm reporters as well, and also commercial managers for any of you guys using the commercial planning tool with Figured. These report packs, particularly the kind of standardized all level ones where we can set them up across a number of files, really, really useful to get these set up for usage so you don't need to kind of rebuild them every time. You can just use them. Jumping into the editor here, so basically you can add in whatever reports to each pack you want to use. There are some different kind of nuances around the settings of each report and things. Obviously, as Scotty mentioned, each report has its own customizable options in there. But basically, you can drag and drop your different reports around, select which ones you want, and save custom settings that can be rolled out across your packs there. There's a few different ways to utilize these packs in terms of distribution of the information. So you can run them directly out of here. You can save them into Figured's reporting page in the Save Reports section. You can PDF them. You can also send them, schedule them to send. So that's a really key tool that we're seeing quite a lot of value out of in different ways. But you can set these reports to schedule. So they will run one-off or monthly, quarterly, annually. And you can send them to yourself. You can send them to someone in your team. If you want to, you can send them directly to the client as a bit of a reminder. But they're really great because it will just pop the report pack. It will generate it for you. It'll arrive in your inbox or the client's inbox. And even if it's just a reminder to say, hey, we need to get a report pack out to these guys. We're scheduled to do that. Or just as a reminder to the client that they need to jump in and maybe fix up some reconciliation or, take a look at reforecasting or anything like that. So that scheduling option out of here is really useful. And here's an example of a pack. You can customize the images, the logos that you put on these packs, so you can kind of create your own feel for it. And there's some dynamic options around dates and things as well. So it should auto adjust. So we can set them up to be dynamic so that when they're running, monthly or quarterly, you don't have to go in and adjust all of the headings and the dates and everything on here. We should be able to set that up so it's automated. You can include obviously a range of different reports out of Figured's reporting suite in here, and then you can customize those reports to include different KPIs for different types of clients, different charts for different types of clients. So you can customize them to what the clients want to see and also what information you've got in there to deliver those reports as well, which is a really key point because you may not have everything to deliver to all clients. So you want to customize these so that each report is suited for each client. The reports like the variance report will just run as the actuals come through. So you can set these up again to be automated. And likewise with your cash flows and things as well. Those can be, as the actuals are coming through and they're being reconciled, you can run these packs off and schedule them so that, you're getting a lot of value, high perceived value for the client and delivering that value without having to put too much effort into it. Production report, another great one in there. Once we're using that compliance workflow to get the production figures into those trackers, we can leverage that information that you're putting in there to deliver a value add report with kind of minimal effort. So some key ones I was really hoping to highlight there, and hopefully that kind of gets you guys thinking around how you might be able to utilize those reports and report packs. Cool. That is the end of my demo there. Let me just jump back into those slides. 1 second. Cool. So hopefully that was a little insightful for guys. Moving on here. So that kind of wraps up the demo part. I've talked for a little while there. We've got a little bit of time left. I'll hand over to you for this one, Scotty.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we've had a couple of questions come through the chat. If you guys have any other questions, please, we've got a little bit of time left. We'll try and answer that. So I'll just start with those. I think, I've said it in the chat, but someone was asking about rounding. I've heard that a few times. If rounding figures in the planning grid. I'd export that out to Excel, do rounding it, import it back in now, but I definitely like the idea. It definitely makes it look like more of a plan opposed to, real figures. And then the next question was around consolidating companies. So firstly, this person sounds like they use multi-entity group reporting. If you aren't using it, it's a free tool that people use to consolidate different entities that are in Xero. We create income and expense offset rules, asset and liabilities as well. There's a couple of wizards in there that make that an easy job, and those rules get remembered, and you can just run the reports. We've added a balance sheet in there. It has a variance report and a production report and a cash flow report that you can run consolidated. I think their question is holding farms side by side. So in a multi-farm situation, maybe, or even in group reporting, you want to be able to have each entity side by side and then a total maybe for the whole group at the end. Yep, something that we're 100% working towards. We got, if you've caught up with Patty or I or anyone in our BDM team, you've probably seen some of the exciting reporting things that we're chipping away at. So yeah, I see a lot more questions jumping in. Report packs. I know that you can do commentary. That was going to be one of my little things to talk to there when Patty was going through the planning grid. Anytime there's a material change done in your planning grid, there is a notes feature. Feel free to use that notes feature. And when you set up your reports, under additional options, there's the ability to include those notes in there. I believe. I'll check this out and come back to you guys with a definite answer. But I believe if that option is ticked as part of your report pack setup, that will then flow through. So the notes should accompany it. There's an ask to remove decimal places. I've definitely heard that one. Yep, we can follow up with that. So another person here is asking just to explain the import from Xero to Figured, how that actually works. So if you're a Xero user and you're reconciling livestock sales and purchases in there today, we're not asking you to do anything differently. All we're really asking is taking time to educate the team and the clients to add a little bit more detail. If quantities are available, add those quantities in Xero. And a lot of the feeds actually have some pretty good descriptions that pull through. Through the API or the middleman between Xero and Figured, we will, in our stock recs, import those transactions in with a click of a button. And if the quantities are put in, you probably can hit save all or click on, the transactions that you want to bring through to actually speed up the time in getting your stock rec done. So I hope that one answers that. Just conscious of time. Yeah, I'm conscious of
timing,
time
Scotty.
here
We're
as
going to
well.
run
So
out.
I'll stop there and we'll definitely go in and get the answers ready. But really want to just say thanks for everybody for coming on today's webinar. We do have some awesome stuff happening off the back of this webinar. So Patty will put up a poll actually, but we have office hours being run over the course of the next 4 weeks. Office hours is just our way to bring our community together and allow you guys to benefit from answers we give to users based on questions that they have. So if you have small questions that you want to have answered, sign up to these drop-in sessions, these office hours, and we'll get that squared away for you. If you're looking for one-on-one training sessions, you have things that you want to achieve, our BDMs and Patty and I are here to catch up with you guys to tailor something for you guys to achieve some of the goals that you have. So one-on-one training sessions, really keen when the poll's up to see, which people might want to discuss this and lock this in. And I'll hand it back over to Patty just to talk about our joint offer.
Yeah, I'll just get that poll up while we just get that poll up there while I'm talking to that. So yeah, really excited to kick these initiatives off. The office hours, really want to kind of, if you've got those questions, unblock you're there, and make sure that we're refining those workflows and getting the most out of that. So hopefully that'll be a really useful one, and you can jump in and listen to questions that other people have as well if you just want to sit there and have a coffee or something. And yeah, in terms of the Xero and Figure joint offer, we're really excited to kind of be announcing or teasing a new kind of partnership with Xero. Obviously, we've been working alongside Xero for a long time, but we're kind of reinvigorating that with the Xero team, and that'll be across from our side, Farm Reporter, Farm Manager, and obviously Xero's Business Edition plans as well. So we're excited to kind of share some more details there in the coming weeks. But yeah, if you want to know more about that, respond to the poll, reach out to us. We're keen to keep you in the loop on that. I'll just give that poll another couple of seconds there. We've had some good responses on that. And I think that office hours, we're not going to get to all the questions today. We're at the end of the time, but if you've got those questions, do sign up to those office hours and do come along to that. And obviously, Scotty and I are here for if you want some kind of one-on-one time to achieve some key goals internally. That's those one-on-one sessions might be really helpful as well. Yeah. I'll wrap that poll up there. We've got some good responses in there. Great to see everyone is keen to get involved in this. And yeah, we're looking forward to kind of working with you on it as well. So yeah, that wraps up today. We're a minute over our 45-minute there, but yeah, just want to thank everyone for coming along today. Really great to see the turnout and the interest in continuing to refine these workflows and work with us on it. There's probably hopefully even the experienced users on today got some gems out of it, and hopefully everyone got a bit of value out of the demos that myself and Scott did.
Cheers, cool. Betty. Hey, thanks everyone. We'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.